is usually don't be intimidated, everybody. Normally the shiur is on a halachic topic coming from the parsha, forthcoming week's parsha. Today there was a request by the power behind the throne that I please give the shiur today in honor of the mitzvah of tefillin. So it's hard to say no to honey, and therefore we're stuck today with the mitzvah of tefillin. Okay, now the truth of the matter is, it is such an exciting mitzvah, and before we even look at the mitzvah, I just want Tani, listen to me. You ready, Rabbi? There's something about the mitzvah of tefillin that I think is so appropriate for the bar mitzvah boy. The first thing we have to ask ourselves is, maybe, let's see if we can do without it.
You need the mic.
You think so?
Yeah.
Is this better? Yes. Good. Shev, you can hear me? Good girl. Nice to have you. Okay, the first question I'd like to ask you is why? Why is it that, Tani, about what age did you start keeping Shabbos? About what age? Come on, you can answer. You don't need your parents for that. About what age did you start keeping Shabbos? How old?
When he understood.
Good, wonderful. So how old are you now? Come on, you could, why didn't you put on tefillin when you were 9 years old? You kept Shabbos from the time you understood because you needed to learn all about tefillin, all about Shabbos, so that when you're going to be an adult, you will know exactly what to do, correct? That's the mitzvah of chinuch. So if you have the mitzvah of chinuch, and let me ask you, very nice, you haven't invited me to your room. Is there a mezuzah on the door in your room? Why? You're not bar mitzvah. What do you have a mezuzah on your door? And what's the answer? The answer is because a Jew needs a mezuzah on his door. And even though you are very close to being a Jewish adult, we start training young men, young women from the time that they understand. Just like you said, as soon as you understood Shabbos, you started keeping Shabbos. That's wonderful. So why didn't you put on tefillin from the time you were 9, from the time you were 10? It's a good question. I'm going to give you a good answer. Yes, my friend. That's correct. As soon as you'll forgive me, as soon as they're toilet trained. That's correct. So good. Thank you. So now that we have a good question, let's give a good answer. Okay, you ready, Rabbi? Listen to this answer, Tom. If the Torah wouldn't command it, watch this. If the Torah wouldn't command it, adults wouldn't put on tefillin. What does that mean? It means that the tefillin, did Janusz give these out? Thank you, Janusz. Okay, so listen carefully. Let's start with one side of this two-sided page. The side which is the Rambam, that's the side that begins on top, where it says Ahava, Rambam's book, love, and Tefillin, Perek Dalet. So look on the left-hand side, you have Halacha Chavei and Chava. Law 25 and 26 of the last Perek of Tefillin, and the Rambam writes as follows. You ready, Rabbi? Look inside. Kedushas Tefillin, the sanctity of Tefillin, Kedushasan Gedolahi. What does that mean? The sanctity of Tefillin is especially great. Shekol Zman Shatefillin Berosho, as long as a person has his tefillin on his head, the Alzroko on his arm, on the it humbles the Jew, putting them on, and he's fearful of heaven. The Eino Nimshach is spoke, and he's not drawn after foolishness, ubesicha b'teva, and with idle chat. In simple English, the Jew Ishmael who puts on tefillin is not to speak with his tefillin idle talk. One should realize it's nothing less than a privilege to put tefillin on. So how did the Yankees do, or how did any other, quote, important question? Even if I have money on the Yankee game, that might be very important to me, but that's how I make my living. Still, I'm not to speak about it when I have my tefillin on. Watch. The Enu Mahar here, Machshavos Rabos, and one does not think wrong or bad thoughts at that time. Ella Mifaneli Bo, he literally empties his heart or allows his heart only for Divrei Emes V'Tzedek, for truth, for righteousness, the ficha. Therefore, Adam Tzorich Adam Lishtadil Liyosem Olav Kol Hayom. Whoa. When did the Rambam live, my friends? The Rambam lived 800 years ago. How different was life 800 years ago? And the Rambam says, Tani, take a look, help me out. Ideally, your tefillin should be on you. Finish the sentence, would be Kol Hayom. What does Kol Hayom mean? All day. Good man. All day. From sunrise or from the time you started your davening, because you are to pray with your tefillin on, as we'll talk if we have a chance later on. For a male, Kol Hayom, Shemitzvos on Kachi. Whoa. So listen carefully. The mitzvah is it should be on the man all day, except when he goes to the bathroom. And Amru Alav al Rav, the Talmud teaches us regarding Rav, who was the Talmid of the student, Rabbi Yudin, Nasi, Rabbi Kodesh, Shakol Yamav, all his days, Lo Ra'uhu, right? They did not see him, Sholach Arba Amos below Torah. They didn't see him ever going 4 amos without thinking Torah below tzitzis or below tefillin. So he wore his tefillin all the time. The Rambam concludes and says, Afal pi shemitzvah b'lav shel kol hayom. Okay, even though the ideal keyword mitzvah is to wear it all day, the shas tefillah at the time of prayer, yoser min, it's more significant than throughout the day. And the rabbis have told us, kriya shema, if a person should recite the shema, which is a separate mitzvah, to recite every morning and every evening. If you recite the shema in the morning below tefillin, ki'ilu me'id, as if you're testifying, edu sheker b'atzmo, false testimony. Because in the first paragraph of the shema, and in the second paragraph of the shema, we have those words, you shall bind them as a binding on your arm, and they shall be as a totophos, we know those words, as a frontlet or as an ornament between your eyes. Mm-hmm. And therefore, if a person does not put on tefillin, period, the Rambam writes, well, whoever does not put them on violates 8 positive mitzvahs. Why? Because, as we'll see, there are 4 parashinos, 4 paragraphs, 4 places in the Torah where the Torah speaks about tefillin for the head and the arm. And so therefore, you're violating the 4 places where it speaks of hand and head, which is really 4 times 2 is 8. Okay. And the holoragil b'tefillin, whoever wears tefillin regularly, marech yamim, it's a good omen for longevity, this world and next world. Okay, so now we didn't answer Mendy's question yet. If the boy puts on tzitzis as soon as he's toilet trained, why can't he put on tefillin from the time that he's 5, 6, 7, 8? And the answer is one word, Tani. The answer is, at what age is somebody mature enough to realize that what I'm wearing is a connection with God? I'm imbibing, which is a fancy word of saying I'm taking in onto myself, on my hand and on my head. I'm taking in godliness. So the truth of the matter is, you will see that adults have a hard time with this. And that's why there's that special Yudin that people say before they put on the tefillin, that they should realize that you are connecting with Hashem. And young boys, 8, 9, 10, even 11, are getting close to that, but not yet. So we are excited, Tani, that you are entering that stage that you have control over your mind, that you're not going to be distracted by other things, and when you put on your tefillin, you will act, quote unquote, appropriately with your tefillin. So all this was to welcome Tani. Mommy and Daddy, Shani and Yitzi, and let me welcome Yitzi's parents, Dr. Angel and Marsha Friedman, and where'd he go? Oh, okay. Wendy and Honey, and let's not forget the uncle and the aunt, Stacy, and brother and sister-in-law. And welcome to everybody at this very special time. Okay, I want to make sure that I get to the other side of this page. So turn over, and before we get to any of the laws of tefillin, this verse comes from the Parshas Bo. I will take a look in a few moments where the 4 parshios are. Let's start with chapter 13 in the book of Shemos, and to verse 9. So this is on page, in the article promotion, on page 362, in the English 363. So we want verse 9. What does the Torah say? In speaking, as you can see in the context above, about the holiday of Pesach, because the Torah says, take a look in verse 6, Shivas Yomim Tocham Matzos. So we know we're talking about Pesach. 7 days you shall eat matzos, etc. And verse 7, not only can I eat it, as we know, this is the verse that says you can't even see your chametz, okay? Even though I'm not going to eat it, good. And verse 8, Vigada Torah Bincha, the night of the Pesach Seder, that's where the book is called the Haggadah, good. And now, ta-da, it shall be for you. Now, by the way, I know that the women that are here are not yet familiar with many of the laws of tefillin. So if you give me your attention, you'll learn a lot of fascinating things. Okay, here we go, Tani. What does the word l'cha mean, everybody, for you? So when it comes to the tefillin shal yad, now we don't know what tefillin means. Very, very interesting. Tefillin, Tani, is one of those mitzvos which is completely coming from the rabbi's understanding. In other words, if anybody asks you, Tani, how many Torahs do you have? You know the answer. 2. What are the 2 Torahs? The written Torah and the oral Torah. So the laws and the identification of tefillin is all oral Torah. And how important is oral Torah? Just as important as the written Torah. Now, oral Torah comes from man. That is such an exciting idea, that God entrusted his Torah, had enough confidence in Israel that we would not, quote unquote, mess up his Torah. And it's as if Hashem whispered to the rabbis in every generation, whoa, that This is what the law is, and it's an incredible concept. Think about it. In other words, watch this. I know very little about being part of a law firm. Tani, you know nothing about it yet, but if they'll record this someday, you'll listen what the guy talking about. So someone just gets out of law school, and he has the privilege of being hired by a prestigious firm. So what does he do the first year? Come on, help me out. He gets coffee for the partners. That's what he does the first year. So while he brings them the coffee, he gets to hear a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But basically, when he's just becoming part of this law firm, he has to work his way up. Not so a boy who becomes bar mitzvah. Unbelievable. You get to study as a Mitzvah Hashem, Tani, the same Talmud, the same Shulchan Aruch that the great Rabbi studied. You're part of the system. Now, it's true at this point here in your life, you don't know enough, a big enough scope of the halachic system yet, but you are part of it. And that's a beautiful idea. So watch. The tefillin shel yad are to be covered. How do I know they're to be covered? Because the word lecha for you as a sign. Tefillin are a sign, as we'll see. Uzikaron and remembrance being your eyes. And that we shall see refers to the tefillin shel rosh, the head tefillin. Okay, now watch. On this pasuk in the sheet, now this happens to be the Meshach Chachma, and this is a beautiful idea I'm going to share with all of you. There are 4 columns starting from the right. We want the second column, okay? And midway down the second column, he is going to give us a beautiful insight and an answer to the question. 2 steps back. What are tefillin? Tefillin are black boxes. What's in those black boxes? Come on, what's in there? 4 parshios, 4 paragraphs. Why 4 paragraphs? Because there are 4 places in the Torah where the Torah speaks about the mitzvah of tefillin. So because the Torah speaks about it in 4 places, all 4 paragraphs are in the tefillin, with one major difference. The hand tefillin has one long piece of parchment. And on this one long piece of parchment are all 4 paragraphs. Okay? In what order are they there? That's the famous debate between Rashi and his grandson, Rabbi. So there is a basic debate how those 4 paragraphs should be arranged. Before we get to that, so tefillin are a black box, square. Nowhere in the Torah does it say it has to be black. Nowhere in the Torah does it say it has to be square. Maybe gray would be nicer. Black is very, what's the word? Come on, Chef, help me out. What's black? Good, thank you. Black is samba. Gray, charcoal gray would have been better. The person has 4 parshios with charcoal gray boxes, they're not kosher. So it's amazing. This was written thousands of years ago, and we're still following it as if it were written today. Okay. And the head tefillin has 4 compartments, the same 4 paragraphs that are written on the shel yad in one are placed in 4 compartments on the head. So the question is why? Why is the hand tefillin one paragraph, one cloth on one box, and the tefillin shel rosh is 4 paragraphs inserted into 4 compartments within the head. So which is tomorrow, Tiny, when you take out your tefillin, you'll look at the tefillin shel rosh and you'll see the markings for 4 compartments. Because in each of one of those compartments is one piece of parchment. category, as opposed to the Shaliad, which is on one piece of parchment. So he is going to explain now who is he, the Meshech Chochmah, who lived approximately 150 years ago, and he has a brilliant understanding of the following. Okay, left-hand column, halfway down. Coming from Malachim Aleph, the first book of Kings, chapter 9, which is a long chapter, whereby King Solomon, when he dedicated the first Beis Hamikdash, he says, on behalf of Hashem, V'hoyu, this is on your midterm, everybody, follow this verse very carefully. V'hoyu, God is speaking through Shlomo HaMelech, and they shall be Einai, my eyes, V'libi, and my heart, Shom Kol Hayomim. Okay, Hashem is saying to Shlomo, well done, Shlomo, my boy, for your building the Beis Hamikdash. My eyes, comma, my heart, comma, will be there all the days. So let me ask you, everybody. Man, woman have eyes. We have heart. Rumor has it, God has no body. So if he is, fancy word, incorporeal, if he has no body, well, what does it mean? God's eyes and God's heart. So here we go. Take a look. Hakavana says the Meshech Chochmah, Einai, and it says God's eyes. What does that mean? Hu al hashgacha elyona. God's eyes refers to his divine providence. Divine providence means that God controls what happens in this world. We all have appointments tomorrow. Are we going to be there on time? Are we not going to be there on time? Could you believe it? There's a train right outside my house, and most every day the mechanism of the train works properly. The train is coming, the gate comes down, the train goes by, the gate goes up. Oh yeah, I'm in a very big rush tomorrow. And guess what? It's stuck. So until they call the cops, until the cop comes, and the cop comes and picks it up, I've lost 5 minutes. I'm going to be late for the appointment. Was that in my control? No. So much of what goes on in our life is not in our control. Whose control is it? His. Okay. Hold the elevator. Okay. Happens to be a young man looking for a shiur. Hold the elevator. And they hold the elevator. And guess who's in the elevator? That's right. That's how they met. Okay, what's going on? He is running the world. That he runs the world, everybody, that's what the word Einai, his eyes, represent, meaning that his eyes are on the entire world. And this is what he calls the Meshech Chochmah, Hashgacha Elyona, God's higher intervention, his supervision. Now, Belibi, my heart is going to be there. Hu al ha'ava Hashem balev. What's in one's heart? Love. So in the heart represents the love of God for the Jewish people, and the eyes represents his hashgacha. Okay, now watch. Very sharp. V'hinei, you can take this home with you. Hashgacha, God's providence, he duvuka, is very much tied up with Israel. Here comes the key words. Lefi erech ma'aloso, in accordance with the value of each person's life. What does that mean? Rumor has it that some people might be a little bit, I don't like the word better, but that is the reality. Some people are better than others. What does that mean? It means I think about God 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, maybe during Shemona Esrei, maybe in these days during Tehillim, but for the most part, well, no, he's with me all the time. The more he is with you, you are with him. What does that mean in simple English? The more divine providence you get if you are with him. As, listen carefully, the Rambam explains, if anybody is interested in the Guide for the Perplexed, in book 3, chapter 8, now watch. I'll give you a good example. We know from the book of Bereshit, the end of Bereshit, know that as we are taught in Pirkei Avos, Abraham was tested with 10 tests. One of those 10 tests was his father, amazing, almost like the Akedah, that what Terach does to Abraham. Think about it. Abraham does to Yitzchak. What does Terach do? Terach is so dedicated to idolatry that when his own son, Yitzchak, refuses to, not his own son, Abram, excuse me, when Abram refuses to comply with idolatry, Terach, his father, turns him into Nimrod and says, my son is that rebellious son. So Nimrod says to Abram, you have a choice. Either accept idolatry or go into the furnace. And what does Abram choose, Pubi? Abram chooses to go into the furnace. The Rashi brings this at the end of chapter 11 in Bereshit. Now what? Abram goes in, and guess what? Comes out. Whoa, very, very important. Good. And we say this every morning. Ato Kim Shebakarta Abram would say so, Me'ur Kazdim. You took him out of the heat, the furnace of Kazdim. Good. Abram had a brother called Haran. Next, so Nimrod says to Haran, come on, are you with idolatry? Are you with Abraham? So Haran sees, oh, Abraham went in, and Abraham came out. I'm with Abraham. He goes in, and what happens to Haran? Gets burnt. Why? Good question. Give me the good answer. The answer is Abraham deserved to be saved. Abraham was going against the whole world. The whole world was saying that there's power to this microphone, and there's power to that flower on the table, etc., etc. And Abraham would say, that's ridiculous. So Abraham was championing the concept of monotheism against the entire world. So as he showed great dedication, love to God, God reciprocated in kind and saved him. Haran was one of those wishy-washy persons. If Abraham would be saved, I'm with him. If Abraham would die, I'm with idolatry. That wasn't good enough. So he clearly, died. So what do we see from that little story? Something very important, that there's more hashgach, which means there's more divine providence if a person is tied in with God. And that's what he shows. Ubi Israel, right? 4 lines up from the bottom. Yesh Dalet Sugim B'nei Torah Mitzvos. The Jewish people can be categorized by 4 different groups of observant in the realm of Torah and their mitzvos. So, for example, just as the esrog and lulav, there are 4 different species, like the esrog, tam v'reach. The esrog has both taste as a fruit, and it has scent, smell, and that represents tam Torah and reach, ma'asim tovim, good deeds. Then there's the tam below reach. That's the lulav. There's taste, because the lulav is a date palm. So there's taste to that tree, but there's no scent. And then there is the hadassim, which have scent and no taste, and there are rebels which have neither. And these are 4 Jews, meaning there are Jews that have both Torah and mitzvos. Whoa. Then there's one down below, Torah without good deeds without Torah, and neither. We take all 4, but clearly God's providence is the more the individual is connected to God, the more God is connected to him. This is the head tefillin. That's why the head tefillin is in 4 different compartments, because there is 4 different degrees of God's providence. However, come on, the tefillin shaliad, the hand tefillin, represents God's love. Now listen to this, Rabbi. God's love is the same for all, just like a parent. A parent can have 4 children. Each of his 4 children are very different. But guess what? Without having to go to parenting 1-1 in college, a parent loves all his 4 children the same. They're all different. He loves each one the same. So therefore, tomorrow morning, when you put your tefillin shaliyat on first, you know what you're saying? You're putting them on, and it's as if your tefillin can talk to you. What are your tefillin shaliyat saying to you? Hashem is saying, you ready, Rabbi? Tani, I love you. Wow, that's pretty good. Your putting them on is saying, guess what? I love you too. There's nothing better than that. So that is your hand tefillin by the heart. Righty or lefty? Are you a righty or a lefty? Can you? Righty, good. All right, good. Remember, so which hand do you put tefillin? Why? If you're a righty, come on, man, you should put it on your right hand. Why do you put it on your left hand? Should I show you? Listen, I don't hear you, but I'm going to show you. Okay, everybody, that's why, thank you so much for bringing the promotion. Turn to page 364. Yep, 364. Then there's a mistake in my chumash. See if there's a mistake in your chumash also. Okay, page 364. Let's go. Last verse on the page, verse Tezva, right hand column. Last verse. The Torah says, "Vayol la'os, tefillin shall be a sign al yodcha." Wait a minute. We had the word yodcha back in verse 9, and there the Torah spells it with 3 letters: Yud, Dalet, final Chav. Here I have the word yodcha in 4 letters. Okay, how many extra letters in the Torah? Come on, how many extra letters in the Torah? Help me out. The answer is none. Good. So if there are no extra letters in the Torah, why is the word Yodcha here written with 4 letters? Yud Dalet Chav Hey, but it should have been, come on, let's go. It should have been 3 letters. Yud Dalet final Chav. You see the probability? And what's the answer? Yodcha is really 2 separate words. Yad Keha. Keha means weaker. So again, it doesn't say weaker hand. It doesn't say separate. This is all part of the oral tradition. But from day 1, the only question is, okay, you are a righty. What hand do you throw the ball? So with the right hand, good. And what hand do you write? W-R-I-T-E. Everything with your right hand? No problem. You don't put it on the left hand. Now some kids are problematic kids. What could be a problematic kid? Well, I write with my right hand and I throw a ball with my left hand. You got to go to the rabbi, kid, because you are a problem kid. And that should be the biggest problem you ever give your parents. But the question is, how do we determine what a righty is? Tani is a good boy. He's consistently good. Look at that. Throws with his right, writes with his right. Good. You put your tefillin on your left. But here I'm showing everybody what a funny way. But this is practical Judaism. I'm showing you how much the oral law plays a role in the written law. So Yodecha means weaker hand, and that is why a righty puts his hand. And by the way, if anybody wants to know the answer to that question, we go by whichever hand you write with. You write with your stronger hand, or the hand with which you write becomes your stronger hand. And so in that case there, if you wrote with your left hand, even if you throw a ball with a right hand, again, you wrote with your left, you put tefillin on your right. Okay, it will be interesting stuff. Okay, so now, one more time. Why is it that the hand tefillin has the 4 paragraphs on one parchment? The hand tefillin has the paragraph, all 4 paragraphs on one parchment, because it talks about the love of God for the Jewish people. And when it comes to love, Hashem loves all of us. When it comes to Hashgacha Pratis, when it comes to God's involvement in our life, that is dependent upon how much we, do for Him. Okay, I can go for like another hour and a half. Okay, I hope we got a little bit more insight into the mitzvah of tefillin. And Tani, Mazel Tov to you on this very special occasion, and you should keep bringing nachas, first of all, to yourself. You should feel good about yourself, and the privilege of putting on tefillin is just another step in that direction, and bring nachas to your beautiful family for many years to come. Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
It's nice to hear how it's reinforced there.
Thank you.
We have 10 everybody.
Doesn't look like it.
You're gone. You make up the zones, right?
No.
Michael, did you have anything? Not even a piece of cake? Right, so you only have 9. 9. You have 9.
Rabbi, thank you so much for doing this. I think every once in a while we should do a Sunday like this. It's very nice. We used to do it before COVID. We used to have Sundays every once in a while.